What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to The World According to Briggs and a video about UFO sightings. A subscriber suggested I take a look at the National UFO Reporting Centers. This is an organization that records UFO sightings, which as of 2021 has recorded over 91,000 UFO sightings, which 90% of them end up being explained. Weather balloon, military drone, YouTuber doing pranks, somebody didn't take their medication, whatever. For whatever reason, most end up just being a big nothing sandwich. In recent months, the US government has admitted that some footage pilots had been getting were actual UFOs. That isn't saying they're from another planet. They just don't know what it is, what these things are. The footage is kind of alarming. One general said he hopes it's an alien because if it's not, some other country has some technology that is far more advanced than theirs. That can be kind of scary, especially if you're worried about national security, like a general should be. The UFO Reporting Center has been around since 1974. This list is based on their latest numbers as of May 2021. And I'm going to give you some very interesting stories or sightings that people have reported that I thought were very interesting. And I'm going to go basically word for what they reported because I know how UFO people are. If you make one minute error in whatever the story was, they will fill up our comment section. I don't know what it is with space because Star Trek and Star Wars fans are the same way. If you make one little error, oh my God, they act like you just stole their mom's purse or something. All right, let's see what states have reported the most UFO sightings. Number 10, North Carolina. We start off our list in the Tar Heel state, North Carolina. They've had quite a few. The most common belief in North Carolina is that it's a government thing. The government's doing things in the sky. They don't really believe in the aliens as much, but when surveyed, the overwhelming amount of North Carolina residents believe that it's a government thing. The number of UFO sightings reported to date is 2,629. In late January 2021, a string of lights were seen in the sky near Charlotte, North Carolina, and of course this kicked off a UFO debate. These things had no sound, they flickered like lanterns, but followed the same exact path until they disappeared. They've had a few sightings of this since then. The odds of seeing a UFO in the state are just 1 in 205,000, although you'd think there'd be more because the stories stretch back to the late 1940s, and have touched off a number of conspiracy theories about government cover-ups and experiments. Number 9, Illinois. Number of UFO sightings? 2,758. Now here's a good one. Just after 4 p.m. on November 7th, 2006, 12 United Airlines employees and multiple witnesses inside Chicago's O'Hare International Airport saw a dark gray aircraft floating above gate C-17 as Flight 446 prepped for departure. After roughly 5 minutes, the UFO darted into the sky, broke through the clouds with enough pronouncement to reveal blue sky. It basically dispersed the clouds. No radar picked it up, leading the FAA to claim it was a weather phenomenon. Number 8, Ohio. Ohio is just one of those places you expect people to believe in UFOs or see UFOs. I'm not saying they don't exist. I mean, I'm sure there's other life out there. Don't get me wrong. Whether they've made it here or not, I don't know. I look at it from a numbers point of view. There are just too many planets that there has to be some other life out there. Like I said, whether they made it here or not, who knows? Anyway, back to Ohio. On April 17, 1966, 2 Portage County Sheriff's deputies stopped to investigate an abandoned car around 5 a.m. near Ravenna, Ohio, about 144 miles northeast of Columbus. The 2 deputies saw a UFO come up from behind some trees and gave chase. They chased the flying saucer, as they called it, from Ohio across the state line into Pennsylvania during an 86-mile chase that at times reached 100 miles per hour. At one point, the dispatcher actually told the 2 deputies to start shooting at it, and a sergeant got on the radio and told them not to shoot at the whatever it was, in case it was a government weather balloon or something like that. One of the deputies told reporters that the object was roughly 40 feet wide and 20 feet tall by his estimation while chasing after it. And he said somebody was controlling this thing. It just wasn't floating around like a balloon. It was maneuvering. Hundreds of people reported seeing this thing flying through the air that same day, both in Ohio and in Pennsylvania. In the end, the deputies lost sight of it and it was never seen again. Nobody knows what it was to this day. Ohio has 3,012 UFO sightings in its history. Number 7, Arizona. Arizona has seen their share of UFOs over the years. Matter of fact, to date, they have 3,188 reported UFO sightings. Some of the most notable UFO sightings in Arizona include a 1953 incident when 3 Prescott, as they call it there, I don't know, it's weird. They give me a hard time if I call it Prescott, which is how it's spelt. I've been to the place. Sound like everyone was saying Prescott to me, but apparently it's wrong. Anyway, residents saw 8 UFOs at Del Rio Spring Creek and another on November 5th, 1975, when 22-year-old Arizona logger Travis Walton got zapped by a beam of light and sucked up into a UFO. They actually made a movie about it. I watched it. It's like from the early 90s called Fire in the Sky. It was a pretty good movie. Number 6, Pennsylvania. One of my favorite states, Pennsylvania, has seen quite a few UFOs. Their UFO sightings to date, 3,517. Pennsylvania has its own version of the Roswell incident. It happened in 1965 when thousands of onlookers saw a big fireball across 6 different states that actually caused a sonic boom around Pittsburgh and crashed in, I believe it's called Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, only to be recovered and supposedly covered up by the U.S. military. This is the story that keeps on giving. I mean, it's gone on forever. It happened in 1965, and there's been legal battles about the release of the information. This thing even showed up during the Hillary Clinton campaign of 2016. Campaign chairman John Podesta was pushing for the release of the Kecksburg documents. Yeah, 65 to 2016. Number 5, New York. UFO sightings, 3,830 on record. When an electrical surge and explosion at a Con Ed substation in Queens lit up the sky in December of 2018, many were sure the blue haze was a sign of alien life. But everyone knows what happened. What's strange about this one, a lot of people seem to think that that haze and that explosion revealed a V-shaped collection of multicolored alien vehicles with a triangular fuselage moving deliberately and without sound across the sky. So they say it was just the explosion and things like that, but a lot of people say no, this kind of just lifted some kind of stealth capability these alien ships had. Who knows? That one's weird. Number 4, Texas. UFO sightings on record, 3,848. They see a lot out there in Texas. Texas has a ton of very interesting stories, but in January of 2008, about a dozen residents of the small town of Stephenville, Texas, reported white lights floating over Highway 67 that started off in an arc formation and then silently moved to a vertical parallel line formation. The Air Force claimed that they had F-16s flying in the area, and that's all it would be. The residents say there's no way that's what was going on. These were not jets. Number 3, Washington State. UFO sightings, 4,351. They get a ton out there. Washington State is actually home to the first filmed, what they claim, evidence of a UFO. So Washington is really no stranger to encounters of the third kind. On June 21st, 1947, Harold Dahl reported to authorities that his dog had been killed and his son was injured by flying debris from 4 to 6 circular objects in what became known as the Murray Island incident. A few witnesses that saw this event also claim that they were intimidated by men in suits. Like, I don't know if this is where Men in Black came from or what, but apparently these dudes showed up and threatened and intimidated witnesses not to say anything. Washington also gets a ton of Bigfoot stories, so you never know what's going on in this state. A lot of weird stuff happens here. Number 2, Florida. Reported UFO sightings, 5,826. If you ever visit Florida or know someone from Florida, this should not surprise you. Their UFO sightings always seem to be around swamps, and swamps have swamp gas. That not only affects how light shines through things, but it also affects how people breathe and what's going on in their brain, apparently. That's what the government or whoever tries to explain to people, that all they're seeing is swamp gas. Back in 2018, they had some reports of alien craft floating around some swamps in Florida. It turns out it was butterflies. I don't know how you make that mistake, but it happened. On top of that, they had some issues in Tallahassee where everyone's seen some aliens coming down from the sky. Turns out they were parachuters. Yeah, skydivers. I don't know what's going on in Tallahassee, but they'd never seen anyone in a parachute before or something. And yeah, this kind of alarmed the locals. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There's a link down below. We would love it if you go check it out. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, California. Reported UFO sightings 10,333 in California. This should not surprise anyone. California's weird. They got a lot of strange stuff going on there. Matter of fact, if you want to see some aliens right now, go down to Hollywood. You can see them roaming around. They'll take selfies with you. Sure, they're actors most of the time that we know of, but they're there. California even has an annual Contact in the Desert. This is the world's largest UFO conference. The event generally features speakers, panel discussions, and lots of opportunities for stargazing and a steady stream of believers who will share their experience with you and how they got abducted and aliens probed them and all that good stuff. A lot of them claim they've captured stuff on camera too, so that is kind of interesting. If you want to read a really interesting book, there was one that was put out in 2004 by an author named Preston Denton. It's UFOs over California, a true history of extraterrestrial encounters in the Golden State. You can get it on Amazon. I'll leave a link below. It's a pretty interesting read. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, look for some aliens. Don't get probed. That's never a pleasant experience. I don't know why aliens seem to come down here and do that to people, but they like sticking cameras up us, I guess. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Be nice to each other.